good, my good people? It's your girl, Madam Joyce. Grab a drink. Happy Wednesday, guys. I am so excited about this episode because the last couple of months, I've been seeing a lot of conversations about natural hair care, from Cardi B starting the hairline, to people questioning their traction alopecia, to people having concerns about braids versus wigs versus should we go to the club? Should we wear it to a movie? Guys, it's been too much. So I decided it's only right to bring a professional in the building to educate us and give us some insight about what it really means to be a natural hair care girly and how to take care of our hair. Guys, we have a professional hair care coach. She is a trichologist and she's here today to educate us about all things natural hair. Guys, I'm honored to introduce to the Purple Couch today none other than Enita! Woo! Woo, woo, woo. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for that intro. I'm really excited about this topic.
I am so excited you are here. Can I tell you why? I reached out to you?
Please.
One thing I love is I love a Black woman who is knowledgeable and educated. And this conversation has been all over the internet. All over the internet, and even like a personal thing in my life where I've really struggled. I've struggled to understand my hair. And I was like, I would love to sit with somebody who knows what's up. So I guess, tell me your experience. You're NHS trained, right?
Yes.
And for the girlies who don't know what a trichologist is and what the difference is between a hair coach and a hairstylist, let us know, please.
Okay. Firstly, I think this topic is so amazing. I think it's so important. I think it's super incredible that you thought to bring this to your platform. So well done to you.
Thank you.
It would really resonate with lots of Black women. Okay. So hairdressing and hair styling is, as the name suggests, hairdressing and hair styling. So typically, the training is focused traditionally. It's changed a bit recently, but traditionally, the training is focused on presentation, how the hair looks, the aesthetics of it, the straight lines, every strand pulled in, tucked in. It's not, but when you leave the hairdressers and you get home, the concerns are still there. So whether that's flaky, irritable scalp, that's still there. Whether that's itchiness, that's still there. Whether that's a form of alopecia, that's still there. A hair coach is, when I came into the industry, there was no such thing as hair coaching as of that time. It was mostly hairdressing. But what I was doing was informing and educating. And then when I looked online, I looked for someone who can add to that. I couldn't find that in the UK. And then I thought, well, what happens if I become her? And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do some training. I'm going to build some qualifications. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this really, really well. And then that's how the Healthy Hair Studio by Enita was birthed. So hair coaching is really about you as the individual, taking ownership. You as the person understanding your hair, implementing the practices and seeing a result. Hair coaching is despite of me, not because of me. Whereas hairdressing, traditionally, they keep you coming back. So I remember when I first launched, my mum said to me, don't put the products here. You don't want anyone to see because they won't come back to me. And I'm like, but that's the idea. It's not, I'm not trying to not share because of the fear of you not coming back. So that's the difference. Hair coaching is full ownership while I educate you, inspire you, inform you. And hairdressing is traditionally, it was more about you calm, you style, you look cute. But all the concerns are still there.
Yeah.
How do I maximize length? How do I maximize volume? How do I maximize health? That's hair coaching.
So why hair coaching? Why that career? Where did the love for your natural hair start from?
I didn't choose it. I didn't want it. It found me. I'm a qualified tax accountant. I was doing that. I was very happy. I wasn't looking for this. And I was just caring for my hair and caring for my daughter's hair because I came across a scenario that I thought, my goodness, it's possible not just for a Nigerian to have thick hair, but Yoruba to have thick, long hair.
Oh God, please,
and it's not that I had not seen a Yoruba girl with long hair before. I had, but for some reason, it just resonated different with me. And then I just became obsessed. And I started reading. And I started following scientists. I wasn't then, Instagram wasn't really a thing. Facebook wasn't really a thing as it is now. So you kind of had to do the work to know what you were doing. So I would find a scientist, I will follow his every work, I will find where he's talking, I will go and listen to him talk there. And anytime anyone asked me a question about hair, then it was blogs and forum in those times. And I was always on there answering questions. about hair. And then one day I kind of thought, I was going to work, like I said, I was a tax accountant. One morning I said, okay, I'm going to start the Healthy Hair Studio, because I will always have comments on the blogs sort of saying, oh, Eni, can you do my hair? And I would say, no, I don't do hair. And truthfully, if I'm honest, I kind of saw doing hair as a bit beneath, because I was a trained, qualified tax accountant.
Yeah.
And as a Nigerian, I didn't see it as, well, I've gone to school to do ACCCA. I've gone to school, ACCA is a qualification needed for accounting. Why am I now doing hair? But I loved to talk about it, but I didn't want it as a career. I just wanted to talk about it all the time. And on this particular day, and also I must add, I didn't see it then as anything big. And I think it's because there was no blueprint, there was no template. I hadn't seen someone just educating and talking about hair. So I didn't know, how can this be a career? How do I turn this into an everyday thing? It wasn't even in my scope. So when people would say, can you do my hair? I would just say, no, I don't do that. But I can talk to you about it, but I'm not doing it as a, And I was going to work one day, and I kind of put, at this time, Instagram was more of a thing. And I put a post up, and I put my number. It was my first and last time I've ever put my number. I quickly removed it immediately. And I put my personal number, and I said, hi, I'm going to start Healthy Hair Studio by Enitan. If you're interested, send me a message. It's about education. It's about adding value to the quality of your scalp and your hair. Reach out. I went underground. I came back out at Green Park Station. Unknown to me, that I had loads of silent observers.
Yeah.
People that had never liked, never commented, nothing. My phone just went bonkers. I quickly went back in the post, removed my telephone number.
I was like, crap.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And that conversation, and I didn't have a website, because truthfully, I didn't think anything would come by it. So people were sending me messages, and I'll reply. And my husband quickly did a website for me. And that's kind of how it started.
Wow, I love that. Congratulations. One thing that stands out about you is how I think for me, I've never seen a woman be so adventurous with her natural hair. I was scrolling through your Instagram. Girls, Eni does looks. Eni's got looks. And this is all your natural hair, right?
This is all my real, authentic hair. And if you zoom in, you can even still see the kinks and the coils. It's not like even blow dried or anything. I just stretched it out.
I've never seen anyone be so versatile and so adventurous with their natural hair and look amazing. Is that something you've always had as a childhood, or is it something you've grown to love?
Before going into my healthy hair journey, I used to change my hair every 2 weeks in weaves.
Yeah.
I used to do, then it was called Ghana weaves. I think now it's called fed-in. Maybe it's called fed-in weaves now or something like that. But it's called
like a
Ghana.
braid-in, feed-in braids?
Well, when it goes small and then it goes big.
Oh, pick and drop.
No, pick and drop is the single ones. But I used to do that too. I used to do pick and drops. I used to do, then it was called Ghana weaves. I used to do Sony weaves, the bonding ones with the glue all around the head. Oh my God. Yeah, back in the, I used to do all of that.
Yeah.
But I used to change every 2 weeks, because this, as I'm talking now, it should have been the trigger to start my journey, but it wasn't. I had really bad scalp that was always flaky. So it was as a form of embarrassment that I didn't want people to see the flakes. So I had to take out my hair and wash it. As I know more, I now know what I was doing was also contributing to flakes. But at that time, I just didn't want people to see the flakes.
Yeah.
So I used to change. So I did like changing my looks, but it was really because of the flakes. But people just thought I was changing because I liked a different weave every two weeks.
So was the flakes because of, did you have a dry scalp? What was that about?
As I grew in knowledge, what I had was something called seborrheic dermatitis, but I didn't know that at the time. So seborrheic dermatitis is a skin disorder, it's a scalp disorder that allows for the sebaceous gland, which is what produces oils on the scalp, wax and lipids on the scalp, to produce an excessive form. So my scalp was producing too much oils for me.
Okay.
And as a result of the excessive oil on my scalp, it was turning over premature keratin cells. And they would look like flakes or plaques.
Oh, wow.
Or sometimes like sand grains on the scalp. So you will literally see it.
Falling on your clothes.
So I had to shampoo. What I was shampooing with, it was wrong, but I didn't know that then. And then I was oiling my scalp, which is wrong, but I didn't know that then. Or I would put eggs on my hair and scalp and leave it overnight, but I didn't know all of that was the issue then. So really, I was changing it for that, but my wigs well, it wasn't wigs then, because wigs then was very dated, the traditional.
Yeah, the synthetic wig, the anti-wig with the spikes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it wasn't wigs then, like the way they look now. They
The
look
bust
really good
downs,
now.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I was. But then when I realized, my goodness, I can start to get volume with my hair. But I started my journey with relaxed hair. I was relaxed.
Oh,
I wasn't natural.
can we talk about this?
Yes.
Now, okay, so what was your knowledge about hair relaxer at that point, and how does it differ to now?
I just wanted to see if my hair could go past lip chin.
We need a Barbiana. We needed a
I wanted to see if that was feasible. So that was the goal. I wasn't really chasing health then because I didn't have that level of knowledge at that time. And I had relaxed, not just relaxed hair, I had over-processed relaxed hair.
Wow.
So I thought, I read first. I read and I studied for 9 months before I made one change. I didn't make any single change to what I was doing for the first 9 months. I was just acquiring information. And then I thought, okay, now I'm ready. I'm going to stop the sewing weaves. I'm going to stop the pick and drop. I'm going to stop the garner weaves. But how do I go to work and still feel that I look presentable? So I had, I don't know what they're called now. There was a sort of hair pits that I would sort of hide in between, and I would do sort of French rolls, so a middle part, and I would sort of roll my hair and hide extensions into it.
Okay.
Or I would just do a low bun.
And this was still relaxed.
This was still relaxed. Or I would do a low bun and just put, like ponytails are still a thing now, and I just put clip something at the back. That was me then. And at that time, what I knew about natural relaxed hair was you kind of did it every 6 weeks, which obviously today we know that's not right. But then I would do it every 6 weeks then. It was really over-processed. It was really fine. I made some changes and I started to get volume. I started to get body on my hair. What we know now about relaxed says is that you shouldn't, in fact, it actually says on the relaxer box. So we probably weren't reading it then because you will go to the auntie in the shop in Burnt Oak, which is where I went.
Shout out to Burnt Oak.
Yes. And then she'll relax the hair. She'll use the small tail comb, the tooth comb, and comb it through. You're not supposed to do that.
Oh, no.
She will do that, and then she'll say, sit down until you feel a sting. You're not supposed to feel a sting. It's not supposed to feel uncomfortable. Those are signs and communications to your body that something is wrong. Pain is communication that something is wrong. But we were told then, you sit until you feel some sort of tingle, and then we shampoo.
Yeah, beauty is pain.
Yes. So today we know that the relaxer box actually says you shouldn't do it every 6 weeks. There are loads of studies that now say if you do a relaxer application more than 3 times a year, it puts you at risk of things such as fibroids or other hormonal imbalances or endocrine issues.
Wait, pause. Wait. Relaxer causes hormonal imbalances and issues?
Relaxers can cause a lot of medical complications, specifically to Black women, because as you know, the relaxers are targeted to Black women. If you do it more than 3 times a year is what the studies show. However, there are still more studies that need to come out. There's still more research that needs to come out to sort of build more anchoring on what that means for Black women. So if you stretch your relaxers to once in 12 to 16 weeks, if the application is on the new growth and not the scalp, which can be difficult even for someone that's really, really skilled, if you reduce the application of heat, if you can go to someone that is skilled and has the technique of not combing through with the teeth of the comb, the implication is not as high. The key word is it's not that it's eliminated, it's just not as high as someone who does it frequently back to back.
And what would you say about people who have relaxers now? Do you think that relaxers is a thing that we should just eradicate from our routine entirely? Are there any other suggestions that we can still, because a lot of reason, should I say, for people having relaxers is because they feel like their hair is unmanageable, and the relaxer helps manage the texture of a 4C or 4B hair.
So when people say that their hair is unmanageable, it's because they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the skill set, they don't have the techniques of what to do to meet their real hair needs, because that was never taught to them.
Yeah.
In the same way, someone taught you how to brush your teeth, someone said you put deodorant on. While the white counterpart was going to salons and getting excited about it, the Black girl was traumatized because they would see a comb and they link that to pain.
Yeah. Agreed.
So because the link was trauma and stress, it was almost easier for the mom or whoever the guardian was, just let's put you in something so we don't have to deal with it for 3 months, 4 months, and then braids back to back or relaxers came into place because the knowledge wasn't there. And I don't necessarily blame them because now, today, even if you're not looking for the information as much as in your face,
Yeah.
you see it, it just pops up. And that curiosity of how was this achieved? And then it allows you, the information is now easily available to find. Whereas traditionally, you would have to know somebody that can inform you or do a lot of work yourself. And that wasn't that easy back then.
Yeah.
So the manageability is how soft can my hair be? Your hair can be very soft, very bendable, very flexible, very rich in texture. So when then they will say your hair is hard, it's not hard, it's rich. When they will say, oh, it feels a bit too stiff, it says it does not that it feels stiff. You just haven't done anything to encourage bendability. It does the things like moisturizing agents. Afro-textured hair, the texture and the characteristics of the hair, because of the shape of it, if you do not do something for bendability, what will happen is every bend, every turn, every loop in one strand is an exit point for moisture. So because every strand can have about 50 exit points of moisture, the frustration is not the hair. The frustration is the fact that the person with the hair, or the person catering to the hair, is trying to make the hair do something that is outside of its character. It's trying to make the hair do something that it's not within its design. Because we're used to straight, smooth hair that you just run a comb through. And when that's your point of benchmark and that's your comparison, you will get frustrated because why isn't a comb just going through a hair that has all those kinks?
Yeah.
It's just education.
We're talking about the lack of knowledge within the Black community about our hair. What are some of the myths that you have debunked over the years that you initially thought were factual, but then you've come across to be like, that's not quite correct?
I mentioned eggs earlier on. So because I did it. I genuinely believed when you break an egg, you put in a bowl, you put avocado, you put whatever it is, you put on your hair, mix it, you put on your hair, you wrap it with cling film, shower cap, and you go to bed. I genuinely thought I was doing something legit.
Yeah, we're feeding our hair food.
I really thought this is what I need to do to make my hair thicker and longer. Today, protein is great for hair, but protein in the form of food intake or protein in the form of a product that has the right chemistry breakdown for the hair. When you put eggs on your hair, eggs have some form of lipids. So topically, it can appear that there's a change. But structurally, it hasn't done anything because the molecular weight, the molecular size of an egg is too large for it to go into the core of the hair to be impactful. What it's really doing is you're just coating it and you're just rinsing it, but it's not really doing anything. When it comes to protein, you want to use something that has hydrolyzed protein, which means it's a small breakdown of small molecules that have the impact on hair. When it comes to protein, you can take things like eggs as food. You can take things like red meat for those that are not vegan as food. You can take things as a high protein-rich diet. Because that plays a big and important role, especially also for iron in terms of the structure of your follicles and the structure of the scalp barrier.
So you're saying that, and this is so interesting because I've only just realized and I've only just researched that what you actually intake is not just what you put topically on your head, it's actually what you eat. And I never knew. A lot of Black women are iron deficient. We have iron
100%.
deficiencies. Does that affect the quality of how our hair grows?
Iron is a very important and very fundamental part and plays a very important role when it comes to structure of the hair. When you have a plate that is full of amazing minerals, amazing vitamins, that only matters if your body can make use of that food. And one important way that the body makes use of that food is when it's broken down to tiny, small enzymes, your red blood cells will come carry that out like a river flow for distribution. Your body will never prioritize your edges over your brain.
Oh.
So if your food intake on that particular day, when the body realizes on this particular day we need a certain amount of iron for that day, so that you're not fogging the brain, your body will prioritize distribution to your brain first.
Yeah.
Or if it's another day, or she had a lot of alcohol the next day, the body would prioritize distribution to your liver first. So you need to have an adequate amount of iron within your body for it to go to a non-essential organ, and the follicle is an organ such as the hair.
Wow.
It means if you can get the hair to be at amazing quality before it surfaces, before it goes through a process called keratinization, it gives you a better chance of progress whilst the strand is still within the scalp. And all of that happens within the scalp is your iron, your protein. So for women that bleed excessively, if you're bleeding excessively, that's a high exit point of iron, and you're not doing anything to replenish, the quality of your hair will not be as rich as what you could potentially get. So it is very, very, very important.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm just taking in everything I'm learning at the moment, because as you're talking to me, I'm thinking about my friend. My friend has endometriosis, and she has issues with her bleeding, and I'm noticing that she has that issue, but also she has like literally her edges is gone. She ain't got
Yes,
no edges.
yeah.
And it's something that she's been trying to battle with to try and get her edges to grow. And she's putting all these oils and stuff. But I'm just putting the pieces together that might actually be an issue, because she's having this issue with her, her blood flow. It's now affecting how her hair grows.
It would 100%
Wow.
have an implication, because your body would have to then pull nutrients from a part of the body that even if you do not have, you will still be alive. That's the way the body works. How do I help you not to feel fatigue? So in order for you not to feel fatigue, in order for you to have strength, in order for you not to faint, let me pull supply from a part of the body that is not important to you today. But if that constant pull of supply is happening all the time and you're not replenishing, your strands will be fine. When you part your hair, your parts will be wider. When you're detangling, when you're separating, your hair will break very, very easily, because the structure is weak, because you don't have enough iron within the body to first deal with the core of your well-being before it goes to a non-core area.
Wow. I want to talk about my experience. Whilst you're here, let me just, guys, sorry, let me just let me just use my opportunity. I've really struggled with my hair over the years. I've always admired people that were able to grow long, beautiful hair like yourself. But I always found that my hair only ever grows to a certain point, and I have tried everything. I started my journey just, wearing the wigs, and also having quite an emotional detachment to my hair. Like, if I like, I can just shave it like this and I don't give a hell. And then I think over lockdown, I started to understand that my feelings towards my hair was coming from a place of insecurity. And I also admired people who, it's like some people, the way they feel about their hair, it's like almost like a limb attachment. Like I would watch like America's Next Top Model, and I would see when the girls would cut their hair and they'd be crying. I said, listen, I would take that scissors right now and I would shave it bald. So I guess I was having this journey where I was like, okay, trying to understand how to grow my hair. So I'd put it in cane rows. I would, oil it, try to do things, but I found that it would grow, and then to a certain point it would just stop. It just wouldn't move. So my question is to you and for the girls who are struggling to grow our hair, how do we grow our 4C hair?
Your hair's growing. Your hair's growing as you sit here. Your hair was growing yesterday. Your hair was growing last month.
I can't see the length.
You will not see the length if you're not doing something to retain. That's different from growth.
Okay.
So remember I said that the hair strand starts before it surfaces out. So the core of everything you're doing within the body is important. Regardless of that, if you're not eating right, if you're not exercising, your hair will still grow. It's just that your growth rate will be shorter than average, but you will still have growth. Once the hair comes out from the scalp, at this point, everything you have to do has to be mechanical, has to be topical.
Okay.
Because the body has done its job and now it's passing over to you. If, for example, you are at nose length, in the month of April, 1/2 inch on average will come out of your scalp. In the month of April, if you're not doing anything for this nose length hair to ensure your ends are not dry, to ensure your ends have bendability and flexibility, to ensure your ends don't have an excessive, the key word is excessive, because if you have natural hair, you will still have knots. So as long as your ends don't have excessive knots, as long as your ends don't have excessive frills, because there's a fiber that can have frills that come off of it, what will happen is that inch, half an inch that has grown out of your scalp will then reach an additional half an inch. So let's say by your lip.
Okay.
2-3 months later, because half an inch is always growing out. So the idea is, yes, focus on hair, but also focus on the most aged parts of the hair.
Okay.
The part of the hair that came out of your scalp first. This part has a higher requirement for everything you're doing on the outside than the part that just comes out.
From the scalp, yeah.
The thing with Black people is you're putting things on the scalp, you're oiling your scalp, and you're saying my hair's not long. But the problem is here. This part just came out. It doesn't need your help like this does. You're not putting anything here. You're doing the braids back to back on a fiber that is degrading every single day.
Wow.
Because once it comes out, it's already a dead fiber, scientifically. I know from a point of culture, hair is not dead. We went to Nigeria not too long ago. As we're going through the airport, everyone was saying, oh, you boy, you boy. I said to myself, don't anyone touch your head. So we know, we know there's a cultural approach. When you have like 4 people braiding your hair, that energy, there's a cultural approach to hair being alive. Hair also has the ability to transmit energy and electricity. Hair also has the ability in terms of when you go and braid your hair and the hair's on the floor, you find some people gather their hair. Or when, as a child, when your mom say, don't leave your hair, flush it down the toilet.
Yeah.
Yes. But scientifically, hair is a dead fiber, which means every single day it's degrading. Every day, the quality of the hair is less than the day before. So if you're not doing things to preserve, 2 things can only happen to hair that has surfaced. One is either you're preserving it or you're damaging it more.
Wow.
That's it. So if you're not preserving your ends, yes, you will be stuck there. Yes, you will never see length retention. So you get your leave-in conditioner, a good, well-formulated leave-in conditioner, and you touch the ends of the hair. But how are you touching the ends of the hair if you're doing braids every day?
Oh.
How are you touching the ends of your hair to apply a leave-in if you're doing, lace frontal?
Oh.
That's the issue. You need access to the most aged part of the hair to apply a moisturizer to it so it can go from here to here, from there to there, from there to there. You can reach armpit length to tailbone length easily.
Wow. A lot of the girlies going with what you're saying about making sure that we prioritize the ends of our hair. A lot of people would recommend that cutting the ends helps it grow.
Okay, fab question. I like this question. So this is where we now have traditional hairdressers. The training in those days, again, it's changed a bit now, but the training was you tell your client to have a haircut or trim every 6 to 8 weeks. That is incorrect. What is a trim? The purpose of a trim is to cut off damaged ends. Damaged ends, again, will look like more excessive knots than usual. The key word is more excessive again because natural hair will have a knot. It is unrealistic to think that a hair that is not scientifically straight, not to have any knots. Okay? Excessive knots, that's what a trim will do. Where your ends have more frills or those barely there dangling strands, you need a trim. Whenever the hair tangles or mats more than usual, the key word again is than usual, you need a trim. However, if you're doing a fantastic job of preserving your ends, you do not need a trim every 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow.
Because what you're then doing is cutting healthy ends. And therefore, you will be stuck at a particular length because the part of the hair that you're supposed to preserve, that you're supposed to retain, you've just cut it and is now on the silent floor. If you're preserving your ends properly, you might need a trim twice a year because you're cutting specific damaged ends. If you're not doing a good job of preserving your ends, then yes, you might need a trim every single month because you haven't done anything to preserve it. So you might need a trim every single month. But trimming your ends has nothing to do with the growth from the scalp out, not scientifically, nothing to do with that.
A lot of girlies relax their hair, but
Yes.
a lot of the girlies that don't want to relax their hair
Okay.
straighten their hair and they put
Okay.
heat on their hair.
Yes.
Would you say that heat is a better alternative? I know somebody was talking about steaming, like they use steam because they don't want to damage their hair. Would you say it's a better alternative to chemical straightening?
Okay. So steaming in the form of a treatment or steaming in the form of a hair straightening device?
Straightening, so any type of straightening, hot combs, straightener,
Okay.
blowing dry.
Okay. So the question is, what is the goal the person wants? If the desire is for thicker strands, the diameter of your strands are fatter, you will struggle to achieve that when you're using something that literally has the ability, every strand has a chain sequence of amino acids. And when you use something with enhanced high energy heat, you're breaking and you're creating weathering on the fiber. And remember, the fiber is weathering anyway day to day, but you're now accelerating the rate at which you have holes and cracks in your cuticle layers,
Wow.
which means your strands will be finer eventually. It's the accumulation of it. Some people, it just takes one application of heat to damage it. Some people, you have to do a few times to see that accumulation of damage. Is using heat in the form of a hair straightener better than relaxer? They're both forms of damage through different sources. One is destroying the strongest part of the bonds of the hair. Your hair has disulfur bonds, it has salt bonds, it has hydrogen bonds. The hydrogen bonds is what's impacted by primarily when you use just a hair straightener, because when you pour water, in theory, it's supposed to revert and return. That's hydrogen bonds. However, when you pour water and shampoo and you see your hair's not reverting, you have heat damage. This is now a damage to your disulfur bonds. The relaxer is destroying your disulfur bonds from day one. So those kinks, those loops, that structure I referred to earlier on is now damaged.
Mm-hmm.
It is still damage. Heat will still cause damage, but through a different form. Because heat can also cause damage in one application for some people because it's too high, too intense.
Yeah.
Or it can cause damage maybe at the 10th application.
Yeah.
But you can never have, when you hear things like heat training, it's just a slow build up to damage. It's damaged hair.
Wow.
There's no application of heat that is not damaging if hairstylists and hairdressers are really honest.
Wow. It's true, because even I used to do a lot of ponytails, and I found that like after the 4th or 5th time that I would do the ponytail, my hair wouldn't bounce back. I would just have like one straight. My hair would just be straight like that. Obviously, I'm not to the neck yet, so I'm trying. So it would just be up like this. And I'm like, well, like, I never actually knew that the damage that I was doing was irreversible.
Yeah. That's a good point. Many people think and many people think because I used heat protector, I'm protected, which is not true.
So because the protection, heat protection, the protection is on the label.
It is on the label. It's on the label because they have to sell. It's marketing.
So what are they protecting me from?
Here's the thing. Where you just said that you noticed it at the 5th time, the damage already happened at the first application. It just wasn't obvious to the naked eye. If I use the microscope, I will see that. I will see the damage on the fiber in comparison to how it was before you apply the heat. So the first application is also contributing to some form of micro mechanical damage.
Wow.
The job of a heat protector is really, according to formulators and according to brands, is to protect against heat.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives a person the impression that you're safe, you're protected, you're good. It's not true. And the reason why I say it's not true is everything you should be doing on the day you're applying heat, the higher the heat energy, the more risk you have. So what I mean by that is if you're just using a blow dry, for example, the heat impact is less than when you use a blow dry and then you use a hair straightener. Because the hair straightener now has the plates that allow for the heat to be more compressed. So that's different. When you use a heat protector, it's supposed to allow for the heat to be evenly distributed as opposed to concentrated and compact in one area which reduces risk, not eliminates risk.
Hmm.
But in truth, a better means to heat protect is everything you should be doing should be heat protected. You should be using a shampoo that's heat protecting, meaning you should clarify and then follow up with protein and then follow up with a moisturizing shampoo. That is heat protecting. The treatment you use should be heat protected, meaning you should do something for structure because we said the heat is damaging structure.
Yeah.
Something for structure that the treatment is either a protein treatment or bond builder. That is part of heat protecting. How you section your hair should be heat protected.
Wow.
Meaning when you're sectioning your hair, am I working in smaller sections or larger bits that I'm then using my comb to then comb through aggressively? The leave-in conditioner that you use should be heat protectant. Does it have a form of silicone? Does it have a form of peptide? Does it have a form of protein in it? All of those are heat protectant as opposed to reliance on one single product.
I have a question. A lot of the girlies, they like to do protective styling. Do protective styles actually work? And is it a good way to retain length and healthy hair?
Okay. Do protective styles work? Work for what?
Work for growth. A lot of the girlies say protective styles.
Listen to what you just said, work for growth. Where does growth come from?
The scalp.
Scalp. So protective styling doesn't help for growth. Protective styling can, and I'm going to really give you the subheaders to that, can help for retention.
Okay.
Not growth. Can. In the entire career as a trichologist and as hair coaching, I have never said to anyone, go and do a protective style. Because that terminology is also deceiving because it has the word protective. So again, you think you're safe. What I will say is do something that's fuss-free. Do something that's tension-free. Because protective styling traditionally is doing braids and ignoring your hair for the 4-6 weeks. Some people even 3 months.
The girlies are doing K-rolls and leaving their hair for 7 months.
Yes.
It's not me that did it.
Yes. They are. Tell the truth.
I saw a girl on TikTok and I love her so much. She left her K-rolls in for 7 months. And she says it helps her hair grow and retain length.
Here is it. Because you've left the braids in for 7 months, it means you're not touching in terms of maneuvering, rebending, reshaping. You're not combing, you're not detangling. So because you're not reshaping and maneuvering the hair and the hair's left in a state, you can retain length. It doesn't mean that it's healthy. You can have long hair that's unhealthy. You can have long hair that's thin. You can have long hair that has a lot of weathering. You can have long hair that has a lot of cracks in the chain sequence of the hair. But it is long. But it is not healthy. When you do a protective styling, you should be applying a leave-in. You should be applying something that encourages smoothing agents and bendability whilst it's in the extensions, because the extensions itself is rough. Afro-textured hair is structurally not smooth. The two fibers coming together, and as you're doing those plaits, when the fibers comes together, allow for sandpapering.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the friction.
The friction of it. And then you leave that cornrows or that braids in for 7 weeks, for 7 months even, as you said, and you don't apply anything conditioning on it. And then you unravel it, you're going to see a lot of hair that comes out. Let them tell the truth. They're going to see a lot of hair that comes out.
Yeah, it does fall out.
You're going to have a lot of breakage. And then the scalp is very prone to inflammation. The scalp now has quite inflammation because of the tension and of the styling, and then you're putting gel on the base because you want the lines to be straight. People were doing braids before this whole gel on the scalp started.
Yeah, they were. I'm not sure where the gel came from. I mean, it looks slick. I think it looks nice.
Yes. So presentation, in terms of aesthetics, it looks good. It also allows for, I'm not knocking stylists. I know I keep saying hairstylist, but the reality about it is it allows for the presentation and the aesthetics. It allows for it to be easier for the stylist to get the sort of style, the finished look that they have. But the gel on the scalp creates congestion on the scalp. And that congestion means the components and the parts of the scalp that are supposed to perform So as the hair comes through the scalp, the hair comes through richer, is now compromised.
Wow.
And then it's now attracting dust and debris, car exhaust, pollution from the environment. And all of that is sitting on your scalp and you're not shampooing for the duration of the braids. When you then take off the braids, you unravel, that inflammation is now louder. You now have thinning. If the thinning is not as obvious at that time, what you will notice is more shedding, excessive shedding at that point. But then you go back and do the same style again.
Yeah, we need to redo the front so that it can lay well
It's going to
again.
catch up eventually. There's not how you can do that back to back, back to back. You'll be sitting in my initial consultation room and saying, now I have some form of hair loss.
You know, the braids are causing traction alopecia. A lot of girlies are dealing with this. And when I was asking the girlies what questions to ask you, traction alopecia was a big thing. For those who don't know, how is it caused? And the girlies who are suffering from this, how can they deal with it?
Traction alopecia is, as the name suggests, traction. It is pressure, it is weight, it is the size of the styling. It is the repeated nature of that on an area that can no longer tolerate it. Traction alopecia usually starts off as temporary hair loss. So people will say, oh, my hair came back, but you weren't going to do it again. You did the same style again. And it's the repeated nature of that allows for something that should have been temporary hair loss to now be permanent. What happens is your follicle unit is basically the exit point of the strand that you see. But when you look into this microscopically, you would have maybe about 2 to 4 individual follicles within that unit. Each follicle has its own unique blood supply. And what you're doing is you're putting pressure and tension. Something is sitting on. So you also have to be mindful of wigs. It's not the traditional braids. What is sitting on the parameters of your hairline again and again, that's then compressing. That compressing nature is now reducing activity of follicle health. So where your follicle unit is supposed to have 2 to 4, it then reduces to maybe 1. So your density is less. As your density becomes less, and because it's not that obvious to you because the hair came back, because at this point the inflammation is still quiet, you did the same style again. You now heightened the pressure by then putting gel on it. You now heightened that even more by then putting oils on the gel, on a style that you just unraveled. You gave yourself 1 day break, 1 week break, and you reapplied it.
Yeah.
You then did not wash while this was on your scalp. So the accumulation of oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is what happens when your skin cells degrade faster than the biological clock. This is what traction alopecia looks like.
Wow.
Hair loss caused by pressure. Simple.
Wow. The science is there, guys. The science is there. It's CNT, baby. The next question I want to ask you is, why do you feel like a lot of us Black women struggle with our hair when it comes to confidence in our hair and the emotional feeling we have towards our natural hair?
This is a very difficult question to unpack because hair itself is a very emotional experience. It really, really is. And it's easy to blame, and it is a contribution to why Black women feel that way. But it's easier to blame the media. It's easier to blame what we see in magazines. It's easier to blame what we see on TV, although, yes, again, that is a contribution. But the struggle started as a child in the home. Because what was it as a child, a young child, what did you observe? What did you see? And how did that influence how you started to nurture and care for your hair as you became a teenager and a young adult and a full-grown adult that is now fully responsible for your hair, no longer your mom? What were you taught? What were your experiences when you went to the salon? What did people say to you about your hair? What did you see? What did you hear? All of those influence this emotional experience of hair, especially for Black women. I have a 4-year-old in my clinic that has advanced traction alopecia. What business does a 4-year-old have with traction alopecia? 4-year-old.
Wow.
It's a very painful thing. I had a 16-year-old come in. She did a ponytail for an event, and she has that has now triggered a follicle disease known as CCCA. It's the only time in my consultation room where I cried because I thought about the weight of what is yet to come for her. When at age 16, you should be worried about TikTok. You're in a trichology consultation room because you've lost 80% of your hair. You're bald and it's smooth because of a ponytail. On something that was avoidable. That's the painful thing. It was avoidable. Black women need to be better informed, better educated. And it would always feel brand new if you never give yourself the opportunity to wear your own hair. Anytime there's a place where I have to show up, I have to dress up, the dressing up never includes your real hair. It's always something else because for you, that is how I feel good. I feel confident. So to build confidence, you would have to expose yourself to nurturing. You would have to expose yourself to caring. You will have to expose yourself to your own hands in your hair as opposed to offloading every care to a stylist.
Yeah.
I will say to somebody, what treatment? Oh, I don't know, my hairdresser does it. What shampoo? I don't know, my hairdresser does. How can you love something that you're so disconnected from? So the starting point is do something yourself for your hair. Build a routine that you can follow. And it will not always be easy because, again, it's an emotional experience. But the idea is, can I do it again and again and again that the love will grow? Because it can grow. You can love it. It can be for the extensions that you're putting on that's helping. And it does have a role to play in terms of, like I said, I did a ponytail as well. The wigs have a role to play. The cornrows have a role to play. The braids have a role to play. The issue is that is the only way you show up. That's the issue. You never show up in any other way but the extensions. And then you're saying, oh, but my hair's not growing. And then you're saying, but my hair's fine. And then you're saying, oh, but my hair's hard. The issue is not the hair. The issue is what are you exposing yourself to love the hair.
I think everything you're saying about how it starts from a child and the narrative that you get that gets pushed onto you as a child is something that I can relate to. I obviously, like, you don't really have an awareness of your hair when you're younger, but then you have people around you that all they want to do is cover it. And anything that is outside of braids and cane roll is considered unkept. It's considered difficult. Even when you go to the salon, even when I would go to the salon, like, for someone to comb my hair, there's
the comments,
the comments, a little shady. Like, I would never forget. I was so embarrassed one time because obviously my hair's always been short, and I remember there was a lady, a black lady, who was cane rolling my hair, but because my hair was so short, it was so difficult to grip, and she was cane rolling my hair, and she was in like her hand was hurting her, and then she now called her friend like, I'm going to finish. My hand is hurting me, like, you know, and I felt so humiliated. So from that interaction, I got very embarrassed to even go to the hair salon. So what I would do is I would just get bonding glue and I would just use the black glue and glue. I didn't even care, glue my hair, no wig. I would just glue like this and just put the wig and go like that. Good. And then by the time I remove it, I will have like a whole patch of hair glue just attached to my actual hair. And I just did not care because for me, like you said, my confidence was not in my natural hair because I didn't feel sexy in my natural hair. I didn't feel confident in my natural hair. It was only when I wore the wigs and the braids and everything outside of actually who I am, my identity. And I think a lot of women are really struggling with feeling sexy and feeling confident in their natural hair because of everything that we've experienced around those conversations about it. Yeah, it's tough.
Very, very difficult. The comments of when you go to the stylist or you sit in a salon chair and then the person's like, just making negative remarks. Negative. I remember I was doing someone's hair once, very dense, very beautiful hair. Beautiful, dense. And as I was doing her hair, I was like, oh my goodness, the richness and the color of it. And she just started crying. She said, no one has ever described my hair like that.
Woo!
She was like, no, every time I've gone to somebody, it's always been, oh my God, it's so hard. How do we braid this? How do we that? It's always been negative. She said nobody in her life has ever described her hair as rich, as the way it coils. I was like, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. And she's just there crying.
I feel that.
Again, it's what are we hearing? What are you seeing? What are you exposing yourself to? It's a very painful thing that the only experience you have of your hair is negative. No one has ever said to you that your hair is beautiful. No one has. And why would you even want to believe it? Because, and then you then cover it. You have to build the love. And the only way to build the love is you have to nurture something.
Yeah.
You have to nurture it to the point that you not want to protect it. You not want to preserve it. So if no one can say anything to you, if anyone say, you already have feedback because this is not the person that should be touching your hair.
Yeah.
You and I are not aligned. Let me get up and walk out. But you can only get to that point of confidence if you yourself love it. And that love has to come from, you have to be able to show up one day without extensions. In the 365 days in the year, you have to be able to. So for you to do that and feel confident, you have to know, what am I applying on my hair? How can I style it? You can style it to feel confident. How can I style it to feel confident? How do I braid it so that it doesn't feel tight? How do I do a flat twist so it still feels cute? But in the same way you had to learn. You sat there, you put YouTube and you learned how to put glue, melting, all of those terminologies. You learned how to do it, right?
Yep.
The blow dryer, what's that band called that you put on for it to...
Oh, yeah, the lace, the melt band, the melt band.
Did you not learn how to do that?
Yeah.
But did you not learn how to do that because that was a desire?
Yeah, it was a desire.
You wanted to know how to do that?
Yeah.
Create a desire for your hair. Sit down and learn.
When you were talking about that conversation about the girl crying, it took me back to a time where, for a very long time, every guy that I dated, I was very ashamed to show them my natural hair. And I remember one person I was dating and he helped me take out my hair. And we had already been dating for a year. So prior to this, like, I had never showed anyone my natural hair. You just don't you don't do that. Maximum is cane roll and the cane rolls have to be fresh.
Wow.
And I remember as he was taking out my hair, I was sitting on the floor and I remember he was taking out my hair and he literally, when he's finished taking out my hair, I remember feeling so ashamed.
Vulnerable.
I felt naked. Like, it was for me, it was worse than feeling naked. And I remember he literally, as I sitting on the floor, he literally kissed my hair. And I broke down. I was in tears, but he didn't know I was in tears. I was like, oh, I was so ashamed of my hair for so long, and somebody has made me feel love in this state that I'm looking at myself thinking, I feel ugly. Like, you can see that my hair is doing all of this. It's not length, I don't have any left. You've just helped me remove it, which, by the way, it took a long time for me to be like, okay, whatever. It's like, it's not a big deal. I wasn't gonna, him making me feel like comfortable about it. But then to have someone just first of all, it was the first time someone's ever put their hands in my hair.
Wow.
That was not anti-bucola. That's, it doesn't even matter what you look like. It was the first time. But for someone to embrace my hair, it felt, I can't explain it.
But look at that word you said, embrace.
Yeah. It was an embrace. Like, it felt like, I love you just like this.
As
and
you
look,
are.
and also it looks beautiful. Not that, oh, I love you. We managed it.
Yeah. With
but
conditions.
It was like, I love you like this.
Yeah.
I felt so naked. It's one of my most surreal moments because that was someone loved me for me. That was me.
That was you.
That was me.
Yeah.
And it was, it just brought me back that memory.
Yeah. And this is a lot of Black women's story in terms of the vulnerability they share when it comes to showcasing their hair, whether it's in a romantic relationship, whether it's even with me, as I started my journey, family members would say, oh, but your hair's too rough. Your hair's too rough. Okay, but let me get to this is the journey. Because when I get to that, you're going to ask me, how did you achieve it? And that's what's happening now. People will say, your hair's too rough. People will say it looks unkempt. People will say, don't leave this house and embarrass me because it doesn't look, your lines are not straight enough. As I sit here, if you don't put the camera at the back, but if you put the camera at the back, my lines are still not straight enough. I just literally free-formed with my fingers just to part it so I can do large bantu knots. But I'm so at the point now that I'm really okay. I'm really good. I'm really confident. But I had to build that confidence. And this is someone, remember, that used to change their style every 2 weeks. A fresh weave every 2 weeks. My entire life.
I just want to know, before we get to audience questions, first of all, shout out to you guys on Patreon and on the socials for answering. I was shocked because you lot always usually air me, but people were like, we need to know this, that. If you guys want to join the Patreon community, make sure that you join the Patreon community. I'm so excited about this. But I guess in kind of like a sentence, for those who are trying to, have we asked this question about how to restore your confidence in your hair?
Okay.
Did we answer that?
We answered that, but
okay.
we can...
Okay, let's move on then.
Yeah.
So guys, you guys asked some incredible questions on the social media. I love you guys so much. And yeah, let's get straight into it. So the first question. Yeah. So Aliyah Lowepo asks, what are some westernized routines, products, and treatments that are actually bad for black girl hair?
What are westernized routines that are bad for black hair?
Routines, products, and treatments.
Okay. Westernized. Okay, so we talked about the excessive heat.
Yeah.
So the keyword is excessive. You're doing that once in 3 months, you don't have an issue. You can even do it more frequently. The key is, can your hair tolerate it? So if you've had a whole history of bad practices and you want to start a journey, but you're not willing to sacrifice the excessive exposure to heat, that's a Western approach that's bad for you because you've not built structure in your hair. So where someone else that's built structure and integrity in their hair, they have cuticle integrity, can they get away with using heat more frequently, carefully? Yes. So that's one.
Okay, so Percy Lizzie asks, do all these minoxidil sacred wild growth oils actually work?
Okay, great question. Minoxidil is one of the treatments that science has backed again and again and again. The thing about scientific studies is, can it be repeated? Can it be repeated? Can we have peer reviews? Can we showcase results as the previous studies? And minoxidil is the one that comes with a lot of confidence. So the answer is yes with minoxidil. You do have to be mindful of side effects, however, with minoxidil. There are ways to mitigate the side effects, but work with an expert with that. The Beyonce range, the oil itself, I don't remember what it's called. The ingredients in that are actually pretty impressive in terms of the science behind that. So yes, I would say yes to that. But if the type of hair loss, alopecia you have, is so advanced, neither of those may perform. So please go and see a clinical trichologist such as myself, get a diagnosis so that we can align a treatment relevant to your diagnosis. Otherwise, you're just doing hit and miss.
Hoping for the best.
Yes.
Amazing. So it's Steph asks, please can you explain porosity?
Okay, I love this one as well. Porosity has just gone crazy on social media, to be honest. Porosity is only relevant really and truly for 3 groups of people. If you're a baby, because your hair's too short, unless your mom has been doing the most to your hair, and I pray that's not the case. So a newborn baby, someone is under the age of 18 months, that's when it's relevant. Porosity is relevant if you've just big chopped or you wear your hair short a lot, so you have less than 2 inches, it's relevant. Porosity is relevant if you do relaxers or coloring. If you are outside of that group, it is impossible for you to have one porosity on your strand. Ooh. It is impossible. What the science tells us is the more length you have, the more porosity change and fluctuation you have. Your roots, this 4 inches or so closer to your scalp, are likely to be uniformed in porosity, which is why I said if you cut all the time because you like wearing a short cut or you just had a big chop, then the likelihood of you having low porosity or a uniform porosity is stronger. If you have more than that, like myself, my hair is not one porosity, because if my hair is here, which it is, this part has been on my head for so long. Mm-hmm. It has more weathering. It has more wear and tear. It doesn't matter how careful I am. Every day, as I said, it's degraded. But all the strands closer to my scalp are more intact.
Yeah.
Porosity basically is a measurement of how damaged your hair is. The word poro is a Greek word which means empty space.
Wow.
So how much space, how much gaps do you have in the cuticles of your hair? It measures damage. So you will see things on social media where you put a strand in water, that's just rubbish. That's a myth. And they use that to say if your hair floats, it's low porosity. If it sinks, it's high porosity. It's a way that can describe, it's a way that can explain, but it's not a way to determine what type of porosity you have. So porosity is basically how well or how not so well your hair will respond to certain ingredients. It's the measurement of damage, of holes and cracks. It's a measurement of weathering on the hair fiber.
Amazing. I love this question that Aaliyah asked. Aaliyah again. Aaliyah, you've been asking questions. She's locked in. How often should you wash 4C hair? Is it every 2 days like white hair? Also, does our hair actually get greasy like white hair? And how do we treat it without damaging our curl pattern?
Okay, let's break that down.
Yeah, she said, I
I'm
need
going
to
to follow
ask
my
you-
questions.
Okay, first question is how often should we wash 4C hair?
Okay, not every 2 days, that's for sure. You want to shampoo between 7 days and 14.
Okay.
However, this is important. If you're somebody that only washes your hair 2 times a year, and there are many women like that only wash twice a year, if that is you, it is almost unrealistic for me to then say, now start to shampoo every 7 days. You're not going to do it. It's too much of a change. It's too much of a gap. But I want you to start to embrace, to nurture, to cultivate good practices. So if you're used to shampooing once, twice a year, can you now do it once a month? That's a good entry point for you. But for everybody else, 7 to 14 days. And the type of shampoo you use matters. Because remember, I said I used to shampoo frequently because I used to change my wigs because of my flakes, but the shampoo I was using was wrong. So the type of shampoo matters. You want to make sure you're using a shampoo
Wait,
that...
I don't want to, this is for Patreon.
Okay.
Guys, if you want to know, because the main question for me is what products am I putting in my hair?
Okay.
I've given you an hour of the episode.
Okay.
So when we're talking about actual
Okay, fine.
details,
Fine,
the
fine.
shopping lists for hair growth, that's going to be on Patreon.
Yes,
So if you
okay.
want to know the shopping list, which we're going to add to our baskets, you need to go to Patreon. That's what
All
I'm saying.
right. Okay, fine.
We
I
can't have everything.
I get you.
We've been blessed too much. We've been blessed too much. Let's answer 2 more questions. I had one from my, funny enough, Patreon community. Shout out to the Patreon gang. They were straight in. They were asking the personal questions. I had one of my girlfriends. Let me just flick through. One of my girlfriends, Amina, she asked about your thoughts on, and I'm sorry if I butchered this, seborrheic dermatitis.
Seborrheic dermatitis. Okay.
And why does everyone seem to have it recently?
Yeah, it's very, very, very common. Seborrheic dermatitis means skin disorder. Sebo means excessive, overwhelming supply of sebum. The sebum is produced by your sebaceous gland, which is controlled by your testosterone. Every female also has testosterone in them. So basically, it means your scalp is producing excessive wax and lipids. It is as a sensitivity, that person has a hypersensitivity to a yeast known as malassezia. The fact that you have the yeast is not the, oh wow, alarming thing. Everybody has the yeast. The issue with everybody else compared to people that have this diagnosis is everybody else can go a few weeks without it being problematic. You can wash your hair at 8 a.m. By 9 a.m., 1 hour, your scalp is already flaky.
Oh, wow.
So you have a hypersensitivity to it. So the flakes, the itchiness is really excessive wax, which is then produce premature keratin cells and mature keratin cells, which show up as flakes or plaques on the scalp. It's an accumulation of that. Although we're talking, or most people will be talking about the flakes or the itchiness, it's not really about that, truthfully. It's about the body's response. It's about your immune system. You kind of have to look at it like, what is it about me that everybody else has the same malassezia, but why is it that me specifically am more hypersensitive to it than somebody else? And that's basically as a result of your immune system and the lack of defense mechanism within your body. It is how your body has chosen to manifest that immune system. So doing things topically will help to some degree, but it will not be a long-term solution. You will have to work with a clinic, book an appointment, find somebody you can work with to help have a tight control on your immune system so it's not flaring up as bad.
Okay, guys. And final question I have. One of the bad girls, Ibukun, she asked, can you tell us the real tea? And we spoke about this, but can you tell us the real tea on traction alopecia? Like, what are the actual styles that won't fuck up my edges, but will still make me feel like a baddie?
It can't be tight. And even if you got away with it once, it doesn't mean you should do it again, because your tolerance level of that follicle is now reducing. Eventually, you're going to have permanent hair loss. It's not going to be temporary. It's going to be smooth and shiny. It's going to be way back behind your ears. The entire parameters is going to go. It will go. There is no what if. It will happen. The repeated nature of pressure. For some women that already have a form of traction, the fact that you can see there's already thinning,
Yeah.
but you still make the decision to do the same pressure styling that you know contributed to the thinning.
Kimbara, you don't listen.
You don't listen.
You don't listen. And those that don't hear must what? See the baldness on the edges.
That's what's going to happen. So yeah, you have to think about, for this kind of people, it's even past the stage where it's tight. It's past the stage where it's heavy. It's past the stage where it's small. It just has to feel uncomfortable.
Oh, I have a good question here.
Yes.
I have a good question. So, is it true that we should no longer be oiling our scalp? If so, how do we deal with dry, itchy scalp and dandruff?
Why is it dry and itchy? Let's go back to that question.
Oh.
Is it because you're not shampooing frequently?
Oh.
You're only shampooing twice a year? Is it because of the type of shampoo itself you're using? Is
Oh.
it because you have a medical condition on the scalp? Any scalp that you feel like I need to put something on the scalp because it's dry and flaky, then you have a medical concern. If you need to, the scalp, a healthy scalp doesn't have a need for an oil. It's a cultural approach. It's a cultural approach because many, many, many generations ago, we didn't have the science, we didn't have the understanding, we didn't have the knowledge of what's needed for black scalp. So they would use what was available to them in the kitchen, which were butters, which were oils, and that culture carried on. But no one stopped and asked why we're still doing this. Your scalp will be good, fine, if you were using good quality products and you were shampooed frequently with those good quality products. You don't need it. It's a lack of education.
I'm so ready to get into these products, and I'm ready to get into this kind of, and I would love to know, because I'm somebody that I don't actually know what I'm looking for when it comes to the ingredients of what works for my hair and what will help my hair retain moisture. But I want to get into that on Patreon. But for now, YouTube family, you have blessed us. I'm so over. You don't. I feel like you have debunked so much of my thought process about myself and my hair. And I don't know about you guys, but this episode feels very, very healing. If people want to know where to find you, if people want to know more and need more advice from you, where do they find you on the internet?
Thank you for having me. It's been healing. It's been very confronting. I think that's a good word. It's been very confronting for a lot of you will find it that way. Where to find me? 2 socials, Enita Hair Coach or Hair Studio by Enita. There's a lot of education. If you really want to understand and learn and you want to be informed scientifically, read the captions. Go back to my old post. I was more generous then when I was sharing. Read the captions of my old post. You will learn a lot. We're also in W6 London. We have a trichology clinic and a hair coaching clinic. We're the first in the UK to hybrid the two.
Period.
So please come and visit us, and you get a hands-on approach where you will not hear terminology like, oh, your hair's so hard. What was this? Yeah, you'll get none of that. There's a lot of demonstration of love that goes on and education. You won't have any of that.
We will be putting all
Yes.
Annie's information in the description. But for now, guys, make sure you look after yourself. And before you go, could you do us a favor? Could you please sign us out? So you would just give us, hello, my name is Eni. We've been with Madam Joyce. Thank you for watching. And then but you have to end it with, and we will be back next week with another bad girl or another bad boy.
Okay. Now?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining Madam Joyce. We will be back next week with another bad girl or boy.